Hi, I'm Mattioli, and we're reading Boston Accent. I've been on a slight hiatus here. I've been sick. I am still sick, but we're going to give it a shot. You can tell I'm a little nasally, but we're going to give it a shot because we're behind. I'm 3 readings behind, so we're going to make an attempt to do 3 readings in a row here. Okay, the show must go on. Boston Accent is available on Amazon.com and it contains mature subject matter. Alright, we got some tea going here. Get some tea with honey. There's no stronger medicinals in the house. Okay, let's hit off this. Oh yeah, a little bit already. Okay, here we go. Boston Accent. It's an August evening, 1980, and I'm setting up a function room for a breakfast meeting the following day. It's roughly 7 p.m. We have no function scheduled for this evening, so it's quiet and laid back. There are 3 of us working tonight. We've all split up to set up separate functions. Then whomever finishes first will help out who's ever behind. With 4.5 hours to go on our shift, we should finish no problem. But then something happened to halt all our progress. I got a call on my 2-way radio from the swing shift supervisor instructing me to stop what I was doing, lock everything up, and report to the steward's office downstairs. I grabbed the other 2 guys, and we locked up and headed to the office to find what was going on. When we stepped out of the service elevator, we saw employees from every department headed in the same direction like it was the end of this shift. Only it wasn't. As we arrived at the office, we are met with very serious expressions on the faces of management. The second shift manager looks at me and says, "A bomb has been discovered across the street at Harvey's Casino. Until it's been disarmed, the entire strip is being shut down. Every hotel and casino is being evacuated by all employees. You need to head to wardrobe, change, and leave the casino property immediately. Do not return to the casino until you have called and spoke to a member of management that gives you the okay to return." Everyone understand, and 3 heads nod together, and we're out of here. Wardrobe is backed up worse than I have ever seen it, but no one is in a panic. The general mood was more excitement than fear, the feeling, this is great, we get out early. After nearly 20 minutes, I have my street clothes on, and I'm headed out the door. As I make my way to the city bus stop, which is right next to Harvey's, I'm amazed at what I see. Hundreds of guest employees are streaming out of the casinos, and the sidewalks are jammed. Casino security is working with state and local police as they encourage people to clear the area. The mood out here is a little more frantic, with people on the border of shoving each other, and not running, but moving quickly. As I arrived at the bus stop, I find a city cop informing everyone that we can catch the bus 3 blocks down the street. The bus stop has been relocated to a safe zone, set up in a supermarket parking lot. When I get to the parking lot, there are so many people waiting for the bus that I decide to walk the 2 miles to the house. I contemplate calling Joe to pick me up, but the main road is jammed with traffic. I wasn't the only one who opted to walk. There are dozens of people walking with me on both sides of the road. I had never seen anything like this without a parade being involved. When I arrive home, Dirk, Sally, and Joe are watching the event on the news. They have more information off the TV than I've received. Apparently, extortionists wheeled a 900-pound leveler bomb into an office area on the first floor of the casino. The bomb was composed of dynamite wired to a computer. There was a level programmed into the bomb so that if you moved it and the level lost its center, the bomb would detonate. The only way to disarm the bomb was to enter the correct numerical code into the bomb's computer program. There was no alternative. Enter the code or explode. The next morning I woke, went downstairs to find my roommates gathered in front of the TV where live coverage of the Harvey's bomb was being broadcast. Apparently, an agreement had been made between the extortionists and the owners of Harvey's to the sum of $3 million. The money was to be delivered to a designated drop location by the FBI in exchange for the code to disarm the bomb. Joe made a suggestion that we drive down to the casinos to see what was going on. I grabbed a coffee to go, and out the door we went. Oh, God. As soon as we got to the main road, we could see the effect of the Harvey's bomb. We could see the effect the Harvey's bomb was having on the town. We drove bumper to bumper in traffic for a quarter mile and then took a side road to avoid the jam. We ended up parking the car at the edge of the shopping plaza where I'd been the night before. However, it didn't look the same as the night before. There were mobile media units camped out in the plaza parking lot, and camera crews and reporters all set up behind a police barricade of blue sawhorses. Behind the news crews had to be close to 1,000 people, camped out waiting for something to happen. They were standing, sitting, some in lawn chairs, people with coolers, people drinking beers or cocktails openly in public. The cops didn't seem to care. Their instructions were keep the public behind that line. We spotted several people we knew and began to move about and mingle in the party atmosphere. Suddenly we heard a voice on a bullhorn yell, "Explosion is imminent." I had just taken a pull off a pint of tequila someone had handed me and said, "The fuck is imminent?" as the bomb exploded. You saw it before you heard it, and it was one of the most incredible things I've ever witnessed. A bright flash, followed by a cloud of smoke and debris, filled the air. And then, finally, the noise. The festive atmosphere was instantly gone as the crowd stared in astonishment. And then the rush was on. The cops had abandoned their posts as they headed down to survey the damage, followed by the crowd. As we got within 1 block of Harvey's, there was a second set of barricades set up with twice as many cops. We couldn't see anything for the longest time, with all the smoke. I found myself standing behind a fence across the street from Harvey's, which allowed for the best view I was going to get at this point. As the smoke cleared, the incredible force of the bomb became visible. Dynamite blows up as opposed to out to its sides, and the explosion had ripped the entire front of the building off all the way up to the 9th floor. There were people all around me, and no one was talking. They just stared. Out of the silence, a voice next to me spoke and said, "Now there's something you don't see every day." I looked over, and it was comedian Rip Taylor. I nodded in agreement and said, "No shit." It turned out that the FBI showed up with the money, but the bad guys had panicked and bailed on the bomb. The bomb squad failed at their attempt to disarm the bomb and detonated it when they moved it with a robot. I returned to Joe's car where they were waiting for me, and we headed to the house with just an exhausted feeling of what we had just witnessed. I called into work an hour before my shift and was told to come in. The casino had closed for 24 hours, for only the second time since the day it opened. The only other time was the assassination of John F. Kennedy. They have never closed since. The destruction of Harvey's was a benefit to the rest of the casinos on the Strip as tourists flocked to Tahoe to see the damage and stay at the other hotels. Within 24 hours, a local guy had t-shirts made up that read, "I had a dynamite time at Lake Tahoe." Yes, I bought one. With the increased business, the hours I was working almost doubled. I was making more money, but I was spending it also, partying like a rock star. I was spending less time with Seth now and more time with my coworker, Sven. One night, we took our British coworker, Jared, out to the rock club on the Nevada side of the lake. My roommates had played there the night before and told me guitarist Les Dudek had shown up there and jammed with them on one song. Les was booked at one of the casinos for the week with his band Black Rose featuring Cher on vocals. Les asked Budfest if they could come back the next night with his band and jam, and they said absolutely. I was a big fan of Les's at the time and had his latest album, Gypsy Ride. Joe asked me to keep quiet about Les coming to the club, but I couldn't help myself and told several coworkers. When we arrived at the club, the line was out the door, and Les hadn't shown up yet. My other coworker, Joel, showed up and asked me if I wanted to get high, so we went out front to burn one. While we were standing across from the front door under a cluster of trees, we saw a limo pull up from one of the casinos, and Les and his band, including Cher, got out. Joel was taking a big hit off the joint when he spotted Cher and began having a coughing fit while pointing at Cher. Cher looked over and gave us a big smile as they headed into the club. Joel finished spitting out pieces of his broken lung, and we headed inside. I had a feeling this was going to be good. As it turned out, the majority of the people in the club didn't know who Les Dudek was, and no one bothered him. Cher received a lot of stares, but for the most part, she was left alone as well. When Budfest finished their first set, Les got up on stage with his band and began playing his entire new album. I was thrilled. At the end of his set, Cher jumped up on stage and sang Bob Seger's Fire Down Below. The crowd was on their feet. I had been sitting at the bar right across from the stage during Black Rose's set. When they finished, Cher disappeared, but Les came over and sat down next to me. I introduced myself as a friend and roommate of the band and bought him a beer. He was very approachable and very cool. When Budfest finished the next set, Black Rose got up and jammed again before calling it a night. I think the cover charge that night was $1, and anyone that showed up got the money's worth. We were all hurting the next day at work, and Jared didn't show up at all. His attendance was bad. He was on his final warning, and they fired him. Jared left Tahoe and moved to the Bay Area, where he got involved with some high-stakes gambling and found himself in serious debt to some mob-connected bookies. Late one afternoon that fall, Jared came back to Tahoe to get the money he needed to save his life. Club Tahoe had a main cashier set up directly in the center of the casino on the back wall across from the front entrance. It was flanked on the right by the public restrooms and on the left by a long bar that was split into two sections, with each section seating 25 patrons. Behind the bar was a glass partition that gave the patrons a view of the 300-seat showroom called the Donner Lounge. Donner Party of 4. Okay, sorry. Jared entered the casino through the main entrance and walked the short distance to the main cashier right in front of him. He'd applied black makeup to his face and was wearing black gloves. When he got to the window, he showed the teller a gun, handed her a backpack, and told her to fill it with large bills. The teller did as she was told, and Jared turned to leave. As he was halfway to the door, he was tackled by an off-duty security guard that had been drinking at the Donner Bar. The guard had spotted Jared as soon as he saw the backpack, which is a big no-no in the club. The guard had also been off duty for 2 hours and was legally drunk. As Jared and the guard hit the floor, Jared pulled the gun and fired off 2 shots. The shots missed the guard, but traveled the distance to the restrooms and went through the wall of the ladies' room. By nothing short of a miracle, no one was hit. On-duty security guards jumped in and restrained Jared and held him for the police. He was tried, convicted, and last I heard he was doing 30 years in a prison in Carson City. The off-duty drunk security guard was fired the same day for off-duty misconduct. Security had been watching Jared as soon as he walked in the door, and they just wanted him to leave so they could deal with him outside. The drunken guard's actions could have resulted in someone getting killed. He wanted to be a hero, but he ended up a zero. He got himself a lawyer, got his job back, only to be fired again sometime later for another alcohol-related offense. I can't watch any of those old black-faced vaudevillians without thinking of Jared. Thus endeth the lesson. Okay, we're going to take a little break and come back and read another one. All right. See you in a couple of minutes.